Grace didn't mean to miss her stop. She was on the 4 train heading back from the Upper East Side, earbuds in, forehead pressed to the glass, replaying the morning in her mind, not the cleaning the words. You don't have to try so hard, Vincent. You're already more real than most. She hadn't planned to say that. It had slipped out, and she worried maybe it had said too much. Or not enough. The train doors opened at 125th Street before she snapped out of it. She cursed softly under her breath, grabbed her bag, and doubled back to the right platform. Her phone buzzed. A message from Raina. You good? You're late for dinner. Grace replied with one hand. Be home soon. But she wasn't sure if she was. Not mentally, not emotionally, not with the way Vincent had looked at her that morning. Like her words had carved something into him. The train doors opened at 125th Street before she snapped out of it. She cursed softly under her breath, grabbed her bag, and doubled back to the right platform. Her phone buzzed. A message from Raina. You good? You're late for dinner. Grace replied with one hand. Be home soon. But she wasn't sure if she was. Not mentally, not emotionally, not with the way Vincent had looked at her that morning. Like her words had carved something into him. Grace stared at her takeout box. Her fingers trembled slightly. I don't know how it ends, she said. Then let it begin. At the penthouse, Vincent stared at the words on the page. Grace & Co. The world doesn't need another empire. It needs something that lasts. He closed the notebook and began to make a plan. By the next Thursday, Vincent had rearranged his schedule. His team noticed. Thursday mornings are off limits now. His assistant Mark asked. Vincent didn't elaborate. Block it out permanently. What should I tell investors? Vincent paused. Tell them I've finally decided to make time for something that actually matters. He spent the morning pacing, unsure what Grace would say when she saw what he'd done. When she arrived, she noticed immediately. The penthouse was spotless. Her supplies weren't needed, but her seat at the kitchen island was waiting, coffee steaming, pastelito warm, and a small envelope with her name written in bold, careful script. She looked at him. What's this? Open it, he said. She did. Inside was a mock-up logo. The words Grace & Co. wrapped in a soft serif font, surrounded by a simple line drawing of a mop, a crown, and a heart. She looked up, stunned. I've been working on a proposal, he said. Business plan, website, wireframes. I even found a branding consultant who specializes in small businesses. I didn't touch your vision, I just tried to organize what's already there. Grace's throat tightened. Why? Because you matter, and your dream deserves to exist. She stared at him for a long time. This feels like a line. It is, Vincent said quietly. But I'm not crossing it unless you invite me. She looked down at the logo again. Her name, her vision, her worth, finally mirrored back at her. She folded the paper gently and slipped it back into the envelope. I'm not ready, she said softly. I'll wait. That night, Grace couldn't sleep. The envelope sat on her kitchen table, untouched since she brought it home. Raina had asked what it was. Grace said it was nothing. Raina didn't push. But it wasn't nothing. It was everything. It was recognition, respect, a future. And that scared her more than being overlooked ever had. She sat up in bed, staring into the dark. Vincent Langley wasn't supposed to be the kind of man who waited, and yet he had. Not just today, but every Thursday, with patience in his eyes and quiet in his gestures. He never demanded, never overstepped. He listened. Grace wasn't used to that. Men who listened always wanted something eventually, didn't they? Vincent wasn't sleeping either. He stood in front of the piano again, fingers dancing lightly over the keys without pressing down. Silent music, thoughts louder than notes. He had everything. But for the first time, he wanted something he couldn't buy. Not because it was out of reach, but because it had to be offered freely. He thought about her hands, calloused, steady. Her eyes so sharp they could slice through anyone's performance. Her voice low, direct, always laced with truth. He wasn't in love, not yet. But he was dangerously close to wanting to be. The next Thursday, Grace showed up without her cleaning bag. Vincent opened the door before she could knock. I'm not here to work, she said. I know. She stepped inside slowly, cautiously. I looked over the proposal, she said. It's good, thoughtful. I meant every part of it, he said. Grace studied him. You're not doing this to impress me. No, I'm doing it because building things matters. And because you built something inside me I didn't know was missing. Her breath caught. Okay, she said. Okay. I'll let you help, she clarified. But on my terms. I run it. I own it. You advise quietly. A smile crept onto Vincent's face. I wouldn't have it any other way. Grace reached into her coat and pulled out a worn napkin. Folded, faded ink. He unfolded it slowly. The original logo she'd drawn years ago. Her mother's handwriting along the edge. For Grace, when you're ready. Vincent's throat tightened. This belongs on the first office wall. Grace nodded. We're not there yet, but we're closer, he said. And for the first time, they stood in the middle of his luxury penthouse, not as housekeeper and client, not as billionaire and worker, but as something else entirely. Partners. That was chapter 3 of Dust and Diamonds, where dreams met action, lines were drawn, and something deeper began to take root. Grace stood her ground. Vincent stepped back, not out of weakness, but out of respect. And now, they're not just circling each other. They're starting to build something real. If you've been moved by their slow, steady burn, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to HaHaBots for more beautifully told, emotionally rich stories like this. We bring the heart, the heat, and the honesty. And whatever you do, don't miss chapter 4. Because boundaries are shifting, and so is everything between them. Only on HaHaBots, where real love stories are just getting started.